This book is also beautifully written. Some sentences glitter like stars. Ellerige namaskara. Like Sugata's previous books, this book is also beautifully written. Some sentences glitter like stars. Justice Hegde ji very rightly said that the emergency was declared to save the chair of one person. Very true. The day the emergency was declared, the previous day, I was with Mr. Devrajars getting some files cleared. And before that, of course, the Allahabad High Court judgment had come, and we were all wondering what would happen. And I was very young then, so as a youngster, you can say things which probably the elderly people won't be able to say. I said she should resign. And of course, CM's office was being managed by Mr. Lin and me. We two were there. And CM said, but the charges are not serious. Anyway, we discussed the pros and cons of her resignation. And then the day previous to the declaration of the emergency, as I said, I was with the CM getting some files cleared. Suddenly the door opened. This was at CM's residence, his office in the residence, and Yashpal Kapoor entered. His visit was unexpected because it had not been informed earlier that he would be coming to see the CM. So he looked at me, and the CM kind of motioned. So I came out. The door was shut. And after some time, Yashpal Kapoor left hurriedly. And I went inside, and he said, call Mr. Lin also. So Mr. Lin was called, and CM said she's going to impose the emergency. Now, Siddharth Shankar Rai was the chief minister of West Bengal, and he is one of, I think, the architects of the emergency, one of the main advisors who advised her to impose the emergency. But I don't know if other chief ministers were also consulted, but Devrajars certainly was a very important chief minister. So she sent Yashpal Kapoor. Whether Yashpal Kapoor was trying to convince the CM to sort of justify the emergency, or he told him to arrest people, we don't know, because CM never mentioned. But the fact is that Mr. Devrajars was told a day earlier that emergency was going to be imposed. And it was imposed, as Justice Hegde ji said, to save the chair of Mrs. Gandhi. There was no other reason. Now, this book, as I said, is beautifully written. And I would say that I'm happy that the heroes of this book are here today with us. This is an inspiring tale of idealism that needed to be told. And Sugata has told it very well. But I would say that their efforts in America were heroic. And this is one dimension of the resistance to emergency, which probably was not very well known in India. But now, of course, with this book, their role would be brought to light. And Sugata has summed up the theme very beautifully in the title, The Conscience Network. Though I think Mrs. Gandhi wouldn't have been bothered about what was being said about her in the press, though contrary to the view expressed in the book, that she was sensitive to what people were saying about her. Now, much before the emergency was imposed, this is in 1974 or 73, I think, 73 sometimes, when Devraj Arsa was under attack by the press. And I said, we can have a press conference, a press meet, so that you can sort of talk to the press people. He said, let them bark. Now, when the normal reaction to the media and the press of a very fine chief minister is let them bark, you can imagine what the attitude of the prime minister would be and attitude of the prime minister who imposed the emergency would be. Now, 140,000 people were imprisoned during the emergency. In those 19 months, 140,000 people were imprisoned. Out of that, 43,000 were from the Akali party. That was the only party which sent the jathas of volunteers for imprisonment from the day one till the last day when the emergency was lifted. All other parties had compromised. They were the only ones who did not compromise. And you can see 140,000 now, for example, in Karnataka, the orders to arrest the political prisoners came from Delhi, not from here. Those who were imprisoned in Karnataka were generally those who opposed Devraj Arsu's land reforms. So land reforms, ultimately, it was a cosmetic thing, kind of thing, except in South Canara, where some land was given to the tillers, etc. But otherwise, land reforms nowhere in India has really succeeded. What has happened is that because of our laws of inheritance, over the years, the holdings have been automatically subdivided. Barring maybe perhaps some parts of Bihar, etc., there are hardly any large zimidars in India. Certainly not in Karnataka. Karnataka did not have large zimidars. So it was more or less kind of a public relations thing, 20-point program, etc., etc. The point is, what did the emergency achieve? Sugata has quoted JP in this book. I'll read that. JP said, rulers are like man-eaters. Once they have tasted the blood of unrestrained power, they become its addicts. This is very well said, and I have seen it repeatedly during my service and outside the service also. Once they taste the blood of unrestrained power, they become its addicts. It's not just the unrestrained power, it is the blood of power. Power itself is like tasting the blood. And I'm reminded of the great book, Lord of Rings. It says, one ring to rule all, but once you have that ring of power, you don't want to give it up. So this was simply the case of Mrs. Gandhi not willing to give the power of ring, which was ruling all the powers. And all the troubles which our heroes underwent during the emergency, it's fine. As I said, they are actually the beacon lights of conscience. But to my mind, the work they have done after their return from America is far more valuable than what they did during the emergency in America. I have been seeing Hiremat Saab since the time he set up his SPS, his NGO. And for most of the NGOs, I was the go-to person in the government. So any time he had to get something from the government or get in touch with the government, he got in touch with me. So from the beginning, I have been seeing him, and I am a great admirer of what he has done in Uttar Karnataka especially. Similarly, as a student of earth sciences, which was one of my subjects in the IAS also, I am appalled at what is happening in the Himalayas in the name of development. And here, what Chopra ji has been doing, I salute him for that. At least there's one voice, apart from Sundarlal Bahuguna ji and others, who is taking up this subject. Though these are all, I mean, like what happened during the emergency, and now you may keep on saying this is not right, this is not right, but the attitude of the people in power is let them bark. So emergency, it happened. There was resistance to it. People compromised. People showed their true colors in many cases. I have seen how people's characters were exposed, how there was deterioration in the inner beings because there was unrestrained power. Sugata, but there were then, of course, there are many interesting memories linked with emergency because, as Sugata said, I was the chief censor of the state. I was both with the CM, and I was also the Director of Information and Publicity. I had two charges, and I was made the Director of Information and Publicity because the Director of Information Publicity of the state, every state, had to be the chief censor of the state. Now, one night around 9 o'clock in the night, I got a call from the Home Secretary, Mr. Hanuman, a great Home Secretary. He said that there is a message from Delhi, and Mr. Dipena was the chief censor in Delhi, that you are not to release the proofs of the Indian Express till 2 p.m. I said, sir, this is illegal. He said, then you talk to the CM. So around 9:30, I called Mr. Urs, and I said, sir, this is the message, but this is illegal. He simply said, if it is illegal, don't do it. And whatever you can say atrocities happened here was because of the overzealous deputy commissioners in the districts because they got power drunk. So, as I said, there are many things that happened, but we have to see what happened after the emergency. In fact, in Punjab now, a lot of discussion is going on and a lot of soul searching because for 19 months, every day, Jathas went from Akal Takht and they volunteered. The orders for their imprisonment did not come from above. It is the people who volunteered to be imprisoned. And they say that, what did we get out of it? Mrs. Gandhi probably got so fed up with these obstreperous Sikhs that she wanted to teach them a lesson. And one thing led to another thing and to another thing, Operation Blue Star, Mrs. Gandhi's assassination, genocide of Sikhs, and all those things. I would say that is the aftermath of emergency also, about which only people in Punjab are talking, but nowhere else it's being talked. And as I said, I think that she wasn't bothered about what people were writing about emergency or tea and call lecturing in America. It just didn't matter to the politicians in power. I think it was the wrong or misleading intelligence reports which probably said that she would win thunderingly if she held the elections now. I'm currently reading a book on Bastar and Praveer Chandra Bhanjdev, which is going to be released on the 22nd this month. And there I came across this line today in this book. This is about the murder of Praveer Chandra Bhanjdev, the ex-ruler of Bastar. This is about the intelligence system. They tended to report to the government just what their superiors wanted to hear. And I can give you a personal example. In 1997, I was a special assistant to Mr. Barnala at the center, which was then the biggest ministry in Government of India, out of which some 9 or 10 ministries have been carved out now. And a very dear friend of mine from college days, he was an inspector in IB. So while talking to me, he mentioned that Kapuri Morcha had started about canal, this thing, and he told me what happened. I said, Darshan, there's something very serious. Please alert the government. It's going to have far-reaching results. So he made that report and he took it to his superior, the SP, Superintendent of Police, whatever is the equivalent in IB. He said, but how can we send this report? He said, sir, a very responsible IAS officer has said that you send this report. He said, no, we can't send this report. They sent the report, which they thought would be palatable to the people above. And the Kapuri Morcha was the spark which ultimately lit the fire of Operation Blue Star. So I think this is what happened. But nevertheless, as people of conscience, one salutes them. I'm glad that they are here for the release of the book. I'm glad that Sugata gave me the opportunity to say a few words, because it's a very beautifully written book. Sugata's sensibility is literary. Having grown up as the son of Professor Srinivasa Raju, he has grown up with literature at home, and he lives and breathes literature, so the book has a very high literary quality. As I said in the beginning, some sentences glitter like stars. So I congratulate him on this book. Now, about the aftermath of the emergency, Sugata concludes the book with a quotation from Salman Rushdie. I shall just read that and finish my speech. Rushdie wrote, that is Mrs. Gandhi, her major aim in the following years after 1979 was to achieve a personal rehabilitation, to obliterate the memory of the emergency and its atrocities, to be cleansed of its taint, absolved of history. With the help of numerous prime ministers and presidents, leaders of the West, that aim was all but achieved by the time of her death. She told the world that the horror stories about the emergency were all fictions, and the world allowed her to get away with this lie. It was a triumph of image over substance. It is difficult to resist the conclusion that the West, in particular Western capital, saw that a rehabilitated Mrs. Gandhi would be of great use and set about inventing her. As Rushdie has said, she told the world that the horror stories about the emergency were all fictions. This book is the proof that they were not a fiction, that they were people with conscience who resisted the emergency, like all the 43,000 Akalis who every day came to Akal Takht and voluntarily gave themselves up for imprisonment. Thank you, Sugata, for telling this tale which needed to be told.